So is there anything else you want to change or no? Well, we've got 20 minutes. I'm happy to start whenever you are. Good to you. Yeah, sure. No, not at all, Tony. That's fine. Oh. Um, I think it's really beautiful. I was trying to think before. So when I first came over, did I think about the Australian bush? And I think perhaps before I lived here, I tended to think about Australia in terms of its beaches, um, rather than the bush. But I do really like trees. I've always liked trees. I like a treed landscape. Um, I think the when you're in the bush here, I think the smells are amazing. You know, like native lemon balm and um, yeah, I can smell the eucalypt, especially if it's rained. And I think it's incredibly important for this country, particularly in terms of climate change, because without it, it's going to warm up. So, you know, it really does have that cooling effect on the country. I get really, really upset when I go past areas that have been cleared for development, and especially when they're completely cleared, like they don't keep any of the large canopy trees at all. They just completely clear them. And yeah, and it makes me bothered that, you know, there's not going to be anywhere for the kangaroos or the birds. Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah. Oh, massive. So the UK was many, 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 many years ago covered in woodland, but that's long, long been cleared. So you couldn't even begin to compare. And there are pockets of woodland, and they tend to be. We've got forestry plantations, which are just the pines, which are just for wood as a resource, and they're pretty lifeless, to be honest. And then the small pockets of native woodland, but I'm talking really small. Not vast tracts of land that you get to see here in Australia. And the canopy height is just not even if it was, even if you did have lots of lots of woodland, it would never ever reach the heights that the canopy reaches here in Australia. You get the huge, huge canopy heights in the woodlands and forests here, and completely different species, obviously, and completely different animals as well. Mm. Mm. Yeah. So it's really scary. I remember I don't live near bush, so basically where I live, it is kind of semi-rural, but it's mainly farmland and it's been cleared. So there's the odd area with some trees, but it's not, you wouldn't call it bush. I can see bush and hills in the distance though. And I remember the first bushfire I was aware of was probably, just trying to think, maybe 2015, something like that. And it was just the smoke. So the bush, like I say, is quite a distance away from me, maybe 20k was this fire. And the way the smoke came up and it covered the sun and it acted like a filter on the sun and it made the light really orange and it was actually really quite beautiful. The color, like the cast. I remember that being really distinct and obviously you can smell it as well. And just being really kind of like not scared. Like I didn't feel like I was threatened because like I say, I was so far from the bush. But just like, oh, I hope everything's okay. I hope the animals are okay. I hope people are okay. You know, I assumed it was accidental, you know, because it did seem to be out of control and stuff. And I remember checking the fire app. I don't know if you've ever used that. You've got the Tasmanian fire app and it actually shows you like little symbols of where the fires are and whether they're under control and stuff like that. Yeah. I remember checking that quite a lot. Obviously, recently with my studies, I've come to appreciate it more as, you know, that they do need to do burns. I think in the past I've kind of like gone, oh, why do they burn it? Like, not really fully understood that. Yeah, that's probably about it. Mm, mm, mm. Only I think my knowledge prior to learning this unit would just be that an awareness that bushfire is done on purpose. I mean, it's hard when you know, like I now know that they're trying to reduce that fuel load. Prior to learning this, what would I have thought? Just that they're, I guess, I think I've thought they might do a fire so that if a fire comes along, it stops. So that fuel fire break kind of thing, not the but yeah, not too much knowledge about that really. Yeah. I think for me, it's about the ultimate protection of the bush itself. So that I see the bush as being, you know, that it should be done. Any fires should be done to protect the bush itself, the integrity of the bush as a unique landscape and as a home for the unique, you know, fauna. And just thinking back to the 2020 fires that were so horrific and just seeing that total devastation was just heartbreaking. And, you know, when they said millions and millions of animals die, just millions, that just blows my mind. So I am not just passionate about the bush itself, as in, you know, the trees, all the species, all the animals, but all the biodiversity it supports. You just, it should stay. I feel like we are degrading. It's getting degraded, the bush, and I feel like more and more it's getting chopped down and not given chance to sort of regrow. And I only look at where I live here, so I look at different development areas. And I can see that over the years, the attitude towards keeping any trees has changed from having quite a lot. So you've still got houses, but you've still got trees, to like none. Yeah. And like I say, I just feel like people don't appreciate like how important they are for cooling and birds and yeah, just so important to the landscape. Um, I don't think I would stay in this country to live if it lost all its bush. To me, that would be like, I don't know, yeah, it'd be super sad. Mm, mm. Well, I think for me, I think you shouldn't be allowed to clear sites completely of trees. I think if they're very tall trees, so there's some, like I say, near me, I don't live near extensive bush, but I live near pockets, and some of these trees are really tall, like 30 meters, really, really tall trees, and they put some housing in. And we've gone from an area that was completely trees and grass to dirt. For me, I think you should, there should be, and they will put trees in, but they'll put what they call like street trees, which are still native and important, but they will never ever get to those heights, that canopy height that you see from the big trees. And I just think, there's plenty of examples where buildings have been done with unkept trees, kept big canopy trees, or even where you'll see they'll do like a few houses and then they'll have like a block, which is kind of like the size of maybe 6 blocks of houses, where they'll keep a pocket of trees. They've done that, and but they don't do any of that now, and the houses are super close together. The roof lines can be half a meter apart. So I just think building standards need to come in that actually stipulate a certain percentage of trees are kept and things like that, keeping a few blocks so that the bush can be kept. Even if you were to put a park in there, it still means that your birds have got somewhere to land, um, rather than just this blanket clearance. And then even if you wanted to plant a tree, you don't have the space in your yard to do it because you're so close to your neighbour. Mm, yeah. Um, what are you going to do with the research? Okay. Okay. Will any of my personal information be on it? Will it be identifiable? Will any of my information be on your on the research? Will it be identifiable to me? Sorry, anyway, I'm not trying to be awkward. I wouldn't give an interview if I didn't, like in real life, like I wouldn't want my personal information to be identifiable on research. We could ask that question, couldn't we? Yeah, yeah, that's good. Yeah. Yeah. No. Well, good luck.